connection. So I just want to tell them to tune into woofer. That's all.
And if you don't have that, let them not see you so that you'll be able to understand how to.
Oui, yes. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. C'est notre quatrième journée. This is the fourth day.
Yeah, for the
Quatrième journée pour de la semaine de la vulgarisation agricole en Afrique. Pour les francophones, s'il vous plaît, il y a le woofer qui sont en train de faire la traduction simultanée. C'est-à-dire, vous pouvez se connecter à woofer et puis avoir toutes les traductions sans problème. Mais si vous n'avez pas votre smartphone avec vous, vous pouvez m'appeler et puis je viens m'asseoir à côté de vous pour faire la traduction. Monsieur, est-ce qu'on se comprend? Monsieur Maou? Yeah, he speaks French, I think.
Oh, parlez français.
Les francophones, s'il vous plaît, il y a la traduction simultanée à woofer. Il faut se connecter à travers avec votre smartphone. For the French speakers, there is simultaneous translation going on with woofer. Just connect with your smartphone. But if you are still having problem, just call me. I'll come and sit just next to you,
Okay.
so that we can understand what is going on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Massey, for your support to the Francophone audience. And we will begin our recap. As I mentioned, it's going to be very highly interactive. And I will request somebody to move with the mic and also to hear from our online audience. Sharon, one key learning that took place yesterday, what is your message as we move along? What is your key message? So I'll give just a bit of reflection, just for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, just do a bit of reflection of yesterday's program. And let us know one key message you really feel that this we should run with. The mic, please. IT, where are the mics? Our rapporteurs are also in the room. And I will request that all that is shared is captured for our communique on the last day. The mics, please.
The microphones are here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, we had a good session on how to engage with the government, and especially how to have youth and I would like to give my suggestion for that, especially for us French-speaking countries with a very bureaucratic tradition. In our countries, if we try to have a bottom-up approach, we will ask ourselves what is the needs of youth today, and it will be especially the necessity to have a job. The problem with agriculture is that today it is in the informal sector. In a country like Cameroon, you have like 98% of agricultural activity in the informal sector, and youth do not find themselves employed in agriculture. People in the agricultural sector still feel as if they were jobless because there's no social security. So the solution for this, and because we are also saying how to engage with government, is to give a status to farmers. Nowadays, farmers have no status. They cannot go to bank, and they cannot, they have no insurance in most of our countries. They have no social security, so they cannot be paid their retirement and all these kind of things. So solving this problem with in our context is to give a status to farmer, to recognize family farms as a category of enterprise in our countries, family farms. Why? Because in all these countries, like in Cameroon, you have more than 3 million family farms. And today it is not recognized. And if the government recognizes or attribute a statue to family farms, it will help a lot to, and it will also help to solve the problem of informal sector. It will help farmers to have a social security. They will have access to bank and then to loans and all these kind of things necessary to invest. I think it is really important with our government to address this kind of issue. And while engaging with government, in a country like mine, the ministry in charge of economy has two main concerns. The first one is to what I've just said, to fight against informal sector, because in the whole economy is 95% of the economy activities too much. The second concern is to fight against the trade balance deficit. It has doubled during the 5 last years, and the government is seeing how to solve this problem. The total imports of food in Cameroon has been multiplied by 5 during the last 10 years. That is from the years 2010 till today. And it is really necessary for all projects engaging with government to address this issue and to show how it will be possible to reduce the trade deficit. So this was my contribution, and the main one is to formalize the family farms, because it is the structure of our agriculture, of our economy. And in Africa, we cannot promote agriculture as the main pillar of our economy with in the informal sector. So we have to think how to make agriculture a sector where we have social security. If not, it will be difficult to attract not only young persons, but people who are looking for social security in the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our delegate from Cameroon. I'll also request that as you submit, please let us know your name and the organization that you're representing.
I am Louis-Marie Cacde, and the chairperson of the Cameroon Forum for Agricultural Advisory Service.
Thank you very much. This is very critical. The two issues of having the formalized family farms and formalizing agriculture sector in general, especially since now majority of our countries in Africa, in the continent, are taking agriculture still in the informal sector, as well as reducing the trade balance deficits. Okay, so now I will request another reflection of what key message are we going with, reflecting on what we did in the side events the other day and yesterday's ceremony that where we had different speakers, the panel discussion. What messages are we carrying along as we move forward? I'll request Elizabeth to assist with the microphone. Thank you. And please let us know your name, the organization you're representing, and the country, and your submission.
Would like to speak? Okay.
Yeah, I'm Charles Covert from my firm for agriculture advisory services. Loud. Yeah, I'm Charles Covert from Malawi, Country Forum. I think one of the key issues that emerged in one of the sessions was updating of the extension curriculum to include e-extension and the new technologies that are emerging, as well as going down to primary schools, so that because we are targeting youth, we want to make sure that when the youth grow up to the productive age, at least when they drop out of school, at least from primary school, they should be able to articulate agricultural issues as per the technological trends and what's there. For example, children must know orange fresh potatoes, very young. Again, updating of the nutritional messages from a younger age. That is very, very important. And also the issue of partnerships. Governments need to take an active role in formalizing and driving partnerships of extension agents. It has to be their priority instead of the extension agents seeking government engagement. Government should become the platform of mobilizing the extension agents into an entity through supporting the country forum. And lastly, I think the issue of making post-harvest issues a business. So this is a call to private sector. Private sector now needs to embrace businesses or support businesses for youth and women in post-harvest issues. They have to make the banks, the private sector has to work hard to make sure that post-harvest issues become a business. So that is also very, very important call to private sector. And lastly, civil society also needs to work a lot on making sure that cooperative social responsibility is developed. They should take up development of social responsibility in the local areas, so that at least the businesses in the areas can also support activities, development activities, instead of just depending on the big banks and all those things. And lastly, for private sector is to increase penetration of ICT services, because as we see the ICT extension, there is need to increase penetration of the ICT infrastructure so that people are able to access, and also the cost should be looked at. And lastly, together with the government, they have also to address the rural infrastructure, especially roads and bridges. That is also key for governments to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our Malawi delegate. And maybe just to inform you that the purpose for this workshop was basically, or this conference was basically to rethink and reshape the agriculture extension and advisory services for inclusive and resilient agri-food systems in Africa. And all that you're saying is actually aligned to improving this agri-food systems resilience in agriculture extension and advisory services. We are taking note of this, and it is really very critical for us as we move forward to having our declaration on the last day. So yeah, we still have some hands up. Thank you.
I want to be heard, so I stand up. Jeff Mutimba, AFAS board. From the way we discussed yesterday, my conclusion would be we are very concerned about youth, the lack of involvement in agriculture, their lack of involvement in agriculture. We are very concerned. But I would also say we don't know how to improve. Because from the way we talked, we did not offer solutions. Personally, I think agriculture at the level of 1 hectare and below that we see in many countries, agriculture cannot be attractive to youth. That's why we don't send our children to become farmers on 1 hectare or less. We send them to university to do law or other things, or to be like us who do agriculture through talking. In my country, when we had viable commercial farmers, the commercial farmers themselves would send their children to diploma colleges so that they could come and take over the farms, because these were large scale and profitable, and you would get incomes which were comparable or even higher than those employed. So unless if we are talking at that level, then we've got very little hope of seeing successes at the level of subsistence farming that most of our farmers are engaged in.
Yeah, that's now another dimension. Thank you very much, Dr. Mutimba. And we actually need now to find solutions so that as we move out of this room, we not only have the issues of challenges and constraints, but that we have practical solutions as we move forward. And the youth are still on our agenda as a very critical group for us to find solutions to. Thank you.
I also need to stand up to be heard and seen. I'd just like to appreciate one session where evidence on the tooling women was demonstrated. And this is very critical because we are saying we want to have mainstream gender, but we fall short of the tools that will help us provide the evidence. So I'm very happy that in one of sessions, they said women are tasting even from the beans or from the varieties, and were able to give input on saying this is the best variety because it came straight from the kitchen. So we're happy that the evidence is coming through from the kitchen to the farm. We do not produce things that women do not, who are at the baseline in the kitchen, are producing. So I'm very happy and excited about that and encourage that we have more tools and the evidence that is actually happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, gender inclusiveness is not only a national, nor is it a continental issue, it's a global issue. And it's very critical to have inclusiveness, even right from the decisions that we make, right from the research up to the fork. Thank you.
Yes, good morning all.
Good morning.
Mwesgwa Cyrus. I'm coming from Rengo District Local Government. Like as in the discussion which took place yesterday, we came to realize when we talk about extension, we've normally been describing it in terms of the technical aspect. But now this is time whereby we should come up with also the general advocacy for extension. We scientists, we do the technical part of it and let communication of agriculture be done in the rightful way. Because we need to really communicate the rightful content of agriculture. We have everything that we're supposed to reach out to the community, but then they just die off because they are not rightly communicated. Then also looking at our counterparts in the health department, having interns in hospital. For us, our target is the community where we find a farmer. We have so many gradients out there, and then we are talking about the ratio, the farmer to extension agent ratio, which is 1 to 500. Maybe we need to take out those gradients to the community so that they help out those farmers. And I think by doing that, we shall achieve our goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much from Rengo, that is in Uganda. And it's very critical, as you mentioned, that we need to engage, because with this current ratio, the impact is very minimal, and yet we need effective service delivery. We will have only 3 people, and then we can now move to have our presentation from Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Mercy, and I'm with AFAS. I just want to say that something came out very well yesterday from the panel discussion that we had, the question section. What came out is the fact that we need to work together, come together, and not working, in parallels. That is, everybody is doing it its own way. But we need to come together, pool our resources together so that we can achieve, at scale, not just the little that we are doing and just guiding our own, domain. But there is need for us as extensionists to come together as organizations with the same goal coming together. That is one. It came out very well. The second one is there is a lot of capacity gap, especially with the new normal. In the new normal, we are coming up very well with e-extension, online delivery. But how about the extension? For them to be able to perform well in the new normal. Now for youths, something came out very well. Our focus is still more on production agriculture. There are lots of segments and nodes of the value chain that we need to unveil so that the youth can see all the opportunities that are out there on, in any commodity value chain. There are so many services that they can render. So there is need for us to unveil the value chain, create a lot of awareness so that agriculture is not just hoe and cutlass. Apart from all the issues mentioned already with production, the land is there, land problem is there, technology is there. But then let's put them through all the nodes of the value chain and let them see opportunities that are in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masi. Very important. And maybe just to say that those who will be going to some of the field visits, you will actually look at some of those practical solutions, and we can also dialogue and see how best to improve that which is already started. Those are very critical issues that we have to go along with. Thank you. We'll have only 2 people, and then we can hear from the online audience, and then we can move to the presentation by Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay, thank you. I had the mic. Yeah, I'm Peter Mwangi, the country focal person for KEFAS, that is the Forum for Agriculture and Fisheries Services Kenya. And yesterday, a lot of things came out, right from Monday. And one of the key things which came out is that health begins with what we eat. And that one is very, very important because of the issue of integrating nutrition into extension. That one came out very, very clearly. And we need to be able to promote nutrition-sensitive agriculture among our extension service providers so that they can be able to offer the technical expertise needed for the farmers to be able to integrate nutrition within their livelihoods. The other one which came out, I'm only giving the second 2, is the issue of the curriculum review. The curriculum review needs to consider, of course, the technical issues as well as the soft systems, where we are able to bring in the issue of professionalization of extension, bringing the issue of the soft system, whereby we have the culture and the attitude change being addressed within the curriculum. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, and still when we go to the field, we will see one of those sites where there's a mindset change, and we can actually plug into there and see how best we can move. Yes, here there's a delegate, Dr. Kamau. And then we will hear from our online audience.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is about the youth. We have been talking about the youth as the farmers of tomorrow, but we have not empowered our youth to be the farmers of tomorrow. And I think what I have learned during the few days is that we should repackage ourselves, the message to the youth, the policies to reach that youth, because we've just been saying, okay, involve youth. How are we involving them? Let's have policies which target them. Let's have messages which target them, because even the physical extension work that goes to the ground, it may not fight the youth. It will fight the person who is the landowner, who is the old farmer who has been there. Let's involve youth in other ways. Package messages directly targeted to the youth and empower them to be in agriculture. And in that way, they can be able to join along the value chain, not necessarily digging, which they don't want to dig. They can be in transport, they can be in spraying. I saw somewhere in India where the youth from the universities are forming groups, and they are actually assisting the villagers even to market their produce out there. They form groups where they can do the spraying for crops and all that. So youth can be engaged along the value chain, not necessarily in the digging. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamau. Active packaging, repackaging, and ensuring that they have profitable businesses, not only their engagement that is not profitable, but they need to have the money. They need to see the value that is coming through. So we will have our online responses, and we could, I don't know whether IT, we could allow them to flow in, to unmute, and we hear from them. If that is not possible, then we can have Sharon share.
Okay, thank you so much.
La part des participants en ligne, non. Si cela n'est pas possible, Sharon, vous pouvez y aller.
IT, are we able to let those who have contributed to
Notre équipe de technologie, s'il vous plaît, vous pouvez nous aider pour que nous puissions entendre les participants en ligne, s'il vous plaît?
Mercy, Dr. Mercy?
Hello, Madam Adeline.
Yes, please.
There is a hand in here.
Yeah.
Allô, Madame Adeline, il y a une main qui est levée.
In French. Yeah, but we asked to speak out. IT, are we able to allow the online audience to unmute?
Notre groupe éthique, est-ce que vous pouvez permettre les participants en ligne à parler? Parce qu'il y a des participants qui veulent intervenir.
We need to see them so that we can see when they raise
On a
their
besoin de les voir, pour que nous puissions savoir quand ils lèvent la main.
Okay, I think we can move on. And in case they have some hands raised up, we can then have them in. Since we are not able to have them now. So Sharon will make a recap of the online audience, and then we can move to the next.
Un résumé de ce que les participants ont dit en ligne.
Okay. Oliver Ndegwa from Kenya. She says it's clear we need change management to attract youth to use ICT to do value-added models. Thank you. That's what we have for now from the online audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. That was the response from the online audience from Kenya by, what was the name? By Oliver. Okay, so now we are proceeding with just the last one, and then we have Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries presentation. Thereafter, we will have the perspective of building resilience from FAO representative. I hope the person is already in the room or online. Kindly cross-check so that we have the presenter online. And then we will have the CGIAR reforms by Dr. Ray Makule. So that is the order we are going to follow. Our last presenter, and then we move.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Adeline. My name is Andy Okiror. I work for Sasaka Africa Session, based in Ethiopia. One thing for us to make agriculture sexy and to engage the youth, I have realized we need to see money exchanging hands. If money does not exchange hands, then we are not able to pull the youth. I know in Uganda, they say it's a funeral war. Where am I benefiting from? So if money exchanges hands, that means we need to get the market pool. I was with Dr. Mercy in Mozambique, and we did a market survey. The traders were buying onions all the way from Tanzania. But then when we did a market survey, the traders were able to fund 70% of the production costs. And that means the students were able to access credit, which they were not going to pay the interest. And they were able, so it's a win-win. The students are accessing credit and the inputs, and the traders are accessing the product. So that pull factor, all the students, we had about 520 students within the university farm that has over 1,500 acres. Now went for onion production because there was market and there was funding from the traders. So the youth were now able to make sure that they are able to produce and meet their basic needs within the university. So if we are able to open the markets, then I am sure we shall be able to bring this youth and make agriculture sexy. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, our delegate from Uganda. And I will take this opportunity. There's somebody putting up the hand and saying, don't leave me behind. I think we will now invite our
Qui a levé sa main, qui est en train
facilitator,
de dire qu'on ne devrait pas la laisser.
Dr. Richard Miro, to proceed with the next presenters. A round of applause for the session. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your views. Just to let you know that these are all going to be included in the declaration that will be read out at the close of the workshop. As Richard comes in, let's have Beatrice in summary, and then we can have Richard. Richard, you're welcome, please. Beatrice, when you shout, the online audience will not be able to hear.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to say another thing about the youth. Exposure. Even ourselves who are in agriculture, I call him my professional father, he said that, we want the youth in just, in the extension of talking. But even there, we don't have ways of exposing them. When it is it's an organization and there's a chance, like, people are coming to a conference like this, it is rarely that we'll consider that a youth goes. It will be me who is, who has been there for long. I think it's high time we expose them. Some of us remember when we were younger, the exposure we were given pushed us ahead. But when we got to this conference, the few youth who are there actually are not even having time to sit in the conference. They are doing other things. They are doing service things. From other countries, we have the people we know who are here, not the youth. I think it's high time when we are thinking about conferences like this, we need to think of exposing the youth, because coming to a place like this, it will capacity build them. It will also raise their confidence and talking about agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. That goes hand in hand with repackaging our interventions for the youth. Again, allow me now to invite our lead facilitator, Dr. Richard Miro, to take us through the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adeline. Let's appreciate Adeline with a hand clap. Thank you so much. And again, a very warm welcome to each one of you. In French, how do we greet good morning? Bonjour. And so, habari za asubuhi for those of us from around East Africa. Before we get into our plenary session, allow me to make two important announcements. One has to do with all of those who are going to present in the next parallel sessions. If you're going to present in the next parallel sessions, kindly raise your hand. We have 3 parallel sessions. If you're going to present in the next parallel sessions, I have 2 young people here. Please come up front, right here where the camera can see you. Their role is to pick the slides from you and pass them on to the tech team to send to the appropriate sessions. So if you have not yet passed on your slides, which are going to be presented, these 2 young people, Porito and Olivia. Porito, can you raise your hand? The young youth, and also another young youth, Olive. Please, they can see them, pass on your presentations to them, and then they will take them behind to the tech team and send you to the appropriate session. Thank you so much for your cooperation, and thank you, Olive. Thank you, Porito. As Adeline has already indicated, we are going to have some very, very interesting presentations. One on operationalization of agro-industrialization in Uganda, and then the other one on perspectives of building resilience of smallholder farmers. But that one will not take place today, and I apologize for that. Instead, we have a presentation from the African Union, a message, and that also should be passed on to the young people to make sure, actually it's already with the tech team, just make sure tech team it's ready to present. And maybe before that one is presented, we shall have the CG reforms and how to engage with partners in East and Southern Africa through the lenses of strong partnerships with extension organizations and agripreneurship. This is going to be presented by Dr. Roy McColloy, CG leader of the region. The last one will be from the Bank of Uganda. And if you are here representing the Bank of Uganda, please, again, your hand up. Okay. So when we get that person in, we'll also have that presentation. So now, allow me to welcome Mr. Muhanguzi Frederick, who will be the first one. He is from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Please introduce yourself a little bit when you come up here, and then go ahead with the presentation. We will be running it for you. You have 10 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and to the French, bonjour and comment ça va? Frederick Mhanguzi is my name, from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries in Entebbe, representing the government of Uganda. I'm here to share with you the operationalization of agro-industrialization. Operationalization of the agro-industrialization agenda by the Ministry of Agriculture. My presentation is already on the screens. Can I have a nearby screen? Yes. All these seem to be obstruction, maybe. We can have this. This is changing. Thank you very much. Agro-industrialization is, I would say, is one of the 18 programs under the third National Development Plan. And this is looking at transforming the Ugandan predominant peasant sector by improving its commercialization, the commercialization and competitiveness of production and agro-processing. What is agro-industrialization? I would say agro-industrialization is the transformation of agricultural raw materials into higher level products. And it's just a formidable strategy for Africa to realize the much needed structural transformation and sustain its economic growth. The goal of industrialization, agro-industrialization, is just to increase commercialization and competitiveness of agricultural production and agro-processing. So as we move, the sector agro-industrialization targets result standard agriculture sector. Result number one being that it is to increase exports for processed agricultural commodities from US dollars 0.935 billion to US 2.7 billion. It is to reduce the value of imported agricultural products from 931.1 million US dollars to 500 million. To increase agricultural sector growth rate from 3.9 to 6.0. To increase the proportion of households that are food secure from 60 to 90%. To increase the number of jobs created in agro-industry by 100 annually. And finally, to increase the percentage of households in subsistence agriculture from 68 to 50, from 68 to 55%. So briefly, these are the target results that the program aims at achieving. However, there are limiting factors for agro-industrialization, one being raw agricultural production and productivity, weak and relatively young farmer organizations, where we have most of these organizations very young and weak, with no capacity, with no systems. Others are working independently. They have no business focus. And in most areas, you find that most of the farm organizations are not there. So we have poor storage, where we still have our farmers still sleep or put up with most of the produce in their residences, in their homesteads, in their bedrooms. We have poor market access and low competitiveness of our products, where us Ugandans even, we don't believe in what we do. We hardly consume what we produce. We have low value addition. We still have lots of losses at farm gates, even beyond farm gates, because of the low value addition. We have limited access to agricultural financial services, not only access, but affordability of products that have been provided to support the farmers to invest. We have poor coordination and inefficient institutions for planning and implementation of agro-industrializations in terms of capacity, in terms of technical know-how, but also in terms of the tools that are available to implement this agenda. Can we continue? So this agro-industrialization, we are operationalizing agro-industrialization through a number of objectives, 6 of them. One is to increase agricultural production and productivity. We are to improve post-harvest handling and storage. We are improving agro-processing and value addition. We are also increasing market access competitive of agricultural products domestically, regional, intercontinental, and international markets. We are increasing the mobilization, access, and utilization of agricultural finance. We are also to strengthen the institutional capacities for the delivery of agro-industrialization. So these are the 6 objectives that the Ministry of Agriculture is working through to achieve the agenda of agro-industrialization. And in doing this, the Ministry of Agriculture, I would wish you to take note that it is doing this through the Directorate of Fisheries, the Directorate of Animal Industry, and the Directorate of Crop Resources and Extension. However, today, despite the number of efforts the ministry has undertaken to operationalize agro-industrialization, I will share with you what is happening, what it's doing in the crop subsector. And this specifically will bring out what it is doing under the agriculture cluster development project. So this does not mean that what the efforts we are doing are only restricted to this presentation. Far and beyond, there is much to do, much the ministry has done to operationalize this agenda. So under objective 1 of improving production and productivity, the ministry is doing this through these strategic areas, which is strengthen agricultural research and technology development, strengthen the agricultural extension. A lot has been shared here on what the ministry is doing. Strengthen the agricultural inputs and distribution systems, and adhere to the quality standards and grades. Increase access and use of water for agricultural production. Increase access to use of agricultural mechanization. Strengthen farm organizations and cooperatives. Increase access and use of digital technologies in agro-industry, and strengthen systems for management of pests, vectors, and diseases. So this is how the ministry is positioned to support the agro-industrialization agenda through these investments aimed at increasing production and productivity. So under the agricultural cluster development project, as our case study, to increase on-farm production and productivity, the project has the objective of supporting the intensification of on-farm production of the 5 priority commodities that support the ministry's agenda or focus. This is maize, cassava, beans, rice, and coffee. And in this, in an intensification of on-farm production, the ministry is providing subsidized inputs through the stream of 30, 50, 67, where government of Uganda provides 67%, and farmers provide 33% in the first season, or what we call the first cycle. In the second cycle, the government of Uganda provides 50% and the farmer provides 50%. And in the last cycle, the government of Uganda provides 33% and the farmer 33%. By doing this, then at the end of the 4th season, it is expected that this farmer should have utilized these resources profitably, and therefore they are able to move on to the next cycles with limited or no government support at all. And this is what we've been able to achieve. The project has been targeting 450 households, but so far it has provided input to 232 69 farmers who have been given subsidized agro inputs and post-harvest materials for value addition. Materials which has been valued at 96 billion. And of the 96 billion, we appreciate now here that we have a crop of farmers who have been participating, and they have appreciated this approach, and therefore They have already made a contribution of 32 billion payments as part of their subsidy. And then government has given out 64 billion shillings throughout the e-voucher. There is increased adoption of improved technologies. We see farmers now using seeds, they are using fertilizers even more. Even going beyond plowing the 1 acre that the government is supporting, but buying their own inputs to be able to scale up, but not only scale up, but also be able to make sure that they are supporting these initiatives. We are seeing increased use of demand and increased use of mechanization. So far, the project has supported 1,500 farmers to access tractor hire services. This is largely in the north and east of Uganda, and we still see demand from other regions of the country demanding this. We have had capacity building of producer organizations, of farmer groups. As I had earlier said, the farmer groups that we have are very weak with no systems, and others are formed around social objectives with no business focus at all. And therefore, the project has developed a business modules, and it has a business training manual for extension officers as one of the biggest achievements that the ministry has brought on board. And therefore, it has used this to build the capacity of extension officers. The extension officers, the community-based officers, including the district agricultural technical officers as their supervisory teams. But it has gone on to identify resident capacity within the communities, where it has taken on community-based facilitators, held TOTs with them and taken them through the modules. And so far, we have mobilized and trained 15,932 farmer groups in the modules, and these groups are now able to hold weekly meetings. They do weekly savings. They meet their core social responsibilities, with records management being an important aspect of what they do. And they are able to also raise some social funds, what we call some social funds, to be able to support their own needs. So as part of that, the project continues to support access to extension services through ICT platforms. We've developed the e-extension systems, the EDRA to monitor what is going on in the districts, how the extension officers are providing extension services, the frequencies. So it's just about the efficiency of extension service delivery. So we have developed mobile testing applications, soil testing, applications that are able to detect what is missing in the soils and draw out soil maps to be able to guide the farmers so that they can apply the right agro inputs or the right fertilizers. We continue to support the establishment of local agro input dealer networks through capacity building, first of all, through regulation and inspection. And we have the ministry, we've built the capacity of the ministry teams to be able to do this. And we continue to strengthen the capacities of district local governments to be able to undertake their own, undertake independently this role of regulation and inspection, and also across the borders to make sure that we have the right inputs within the country. So we have accredited 280 agro input dealers to supply inputs. And we continue to engage and accredit and support capacity building of local agro input dealers to make sure that there is residents redemption or service centers of inputs in communities. And we are working out a program to build the capacity of even cooperatives, farmer cooperatives, to be able to take on this role since they stand for provide service to their members. So we hope to build the networks with the support of local agro input dealers, and this is what is happening, and the agricultural farm cooperatives. Under one of the objectives of under water for agricultural production, as you all know, issues of climate change and the need for climate smart agriculture. We are promoting solar irrigation, solar irrigation. And this is because we appreciate, and even agro-industrialization appreciates areas without power. And therefore, it would be important for farmers to learn, for the extension system to learn how this can be done and how we can have resident capacities in communities to be able to scale up these solar irrigation powered systems. And we have centers where we are already demonstrating this. We have developed smallholder coffee irrigation models to support small scale irrigation. And these ones are available for scaling. And we already have farmers who have taken up these with support of our matching grant, where government gives 75% and the farmers put 5% to be able to support these initiatives. The Agricultural Cluster Development Project and the U-Gift program under the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries is spearheading this. We continue to conduct agricultural research to support by control agents, provide by control agents for the 4-army worm. This is under the Department of Agriculture Production. And beyond this, the project has also put in place, it's also working towards making sure that emergencies such as what happened, the locust invasion that we had in the recent weeks and any other possible emergencies can be managed. So we continue to improve post-harvest handling and storage, and we've provided strategic areas, provide post-harvest handling, value addition equipment, provide farmer institutional development to reduce economies of scale, capacity building of farmers and producer organizations. We are continuing to support product development. We can continue, change that slide. Time is running up, can we have this slide change? And the project has provided matching grants, where we've provided matching grants 362 area cooperative enterprises, where the government of Uganda has contributed 110 billion in support of storage and agro-processing, and the farmers themselves have co-funded 36 billion. We have 187 beneficiary farmer organizations that have constructed, and once they've constructed 167 storage stores with a total storage capacity of 42,715 metric tons. We can continue. We have also provided other value addition and processing accessories or equipment to support the agro-industrialization agenda. We can go to another slide. We've had success stories. These are success stories documented, where the capacity building we've provided, both in terms of financial support, but also in terms of the software aspects, to support them to do procurement, to support them to undertake, to manage their finances, but also able to negotiate with the suppliers of equipment, and the farmers are already at this stage, where some of them now are already processing, and therefore they are packaging to access the market. So this is the cassava story. We can continue. We have from the cassava story, we have the maize stories. This is happening in most of the clusters where the project is being implemented. We can move to another story, given the time. We can continue on another slide. This is the coffee in the clusters of Central and Southwestern Uganda and Far West, South and the West. We can continue. So on increasing beyond productivity and production and value addition, we are making efforts also to act to provide investments that support market access, where we have to digitalize acquisition and distribution of agricultural market information, improve market infrastructure in rural and urban areas, improve transportation and logistics facilities for effective product marketing and distribution, strengthen enforcement and adherence to product quality, standards and grades, strengthen the capacities of public institutions in analysis, negotiation, development of market opportunities. Let's go to continue. And therefore, in doing this, we have built the capacity of producer organizations in mindset change. We've built the capacity of their leaders. We've built a network of district teams led by the district commercial officers to lead this agro-industrialization agenda in terms of capacitating the farmer cooperatives or the farmer organizations. And we continue to appreciate that most of these services that we provide cannot continue to be provided independently of other institutions or other actors. So we have developed a strategy and we are operationalizing what we call productive alliances, where the different actors have come together to provide what is missing within the link, within the value chain. And here we have the mature area cooperative enterprises. We have the aggregators, financial institutions, the Agro Consortium of Uganda, the business development partners, where we come together and move and face the farmer as a unit and speaking with one voice and be able to see what the others provide. We've been able to sign MOUs, so far 32 MOUs with 32 cooperatives. And we in here, the guiding model to face the market is the warehouse receipt system, where we are working with the Uganda Warehouse Receipt Systems Authority and other players to make sure that the products, the farmers that are affected by price fluctuations are able to access market at the right time and not just to sell their produce immediately after they have harvest. It provides an opportunity for farmers to hold on for a time when we can have the right price that inspires the farmer to sell. So we continue to support the strengthening commodity platforms. We are working with UNBS to develop a capacity building plan to support these cooperatives, but we also working with the Ugandan diplomatic missions to see how to develop a plan to promote the value-added products by farmers abroad. We continue to provide, we have so far rehabilitated 96 road chokes, which is equivalent to 254 kilometers on community market access, rehabilitation of community access roads. And we continue to do this in other districts. These interventions are happening in the 57 districts of Uganda that are clustered in 12 clusters. We continue to provide support to farmer cooperatives. And in these pictures, this is how far we've gone in introducing farmers to agro-industrialization. This is working with the off-takers like Agroways, Aponya, and the others to make farmers understand this and appreciate this journey. So, however, we need an enabling environment to do this. The agro-industrialization agenda needs to be supported with enabling policy and regulatory environment, strengthen the enforcement of standards for quality agro inputs, food safety regulations, agriculture mechanization, technology policies, strengthen the agricultural statistics to be able to project, support projections, to support for planning, to strengthen the national extension system, both public and private, where they work together to provide these services. And now where we appreciate that even other actors like banks can also come and support. Yes, we support the digital use of technologies to improve access to dissemination of information in markets, in weather advisories, in extension, and the others. My last is to support the right formulations of research and innovation. This is not only in research stations, but also in our education in universities, where we need now to have curriculum that is relevant to support the agro-industrialization agenda. The models that business schools model or the departments of agriculture, agribusiness should be models that support the agro-industrialization in agenda. Where is the future? This is my last slide. The future here, we think that because we want to empower the farmer, and you can't, what we've seen is that our farmers are just, they need to be handheld. They need to be handheld, and this handholding, we think that future partnerships should look at models that help the farmer to come on a joint table with a private sector and government of Uganda, support grow industries and set up agro-processing facilities or value addition facilities jointly that produce products, they go and market together and move on. So for MFAS, for purposes of this, we employ MFAS and Uganda Forum for Agriculture Extension Services to commission a study on assessing the capacity of agriculture extension services or officers to be able to know the capacity gaps, whether they are able to provide to implement the agro-industrialization agenda. Thank you very much for listening to me, and sorry for taking a little more of your time.
Thank you, people, for appreciating Frederick Muhanguzi. Thank you, sir. What has moved my heart is the ability of farmers' organizations to co-finance with government. So we really thank you. Because of time, we now, and again, bear with me for hurrying you up, because I was looking at time. We are now going to listen into a recorded video, but this is from the CG reforms. The CG at that international level is also reforming and welcoming the extension actors to get involved. And so, are we ready, tech people? Not yet? Okay, apologies. And maybe I would invite one question to Mr. Muhanguzi. Yes, let's take the mic. And as that mic comes over, we are also expecting a representative from the Bank of Uganda. If you are here, we know you are stuck in the jam. Please raise your hand so that we guide you on how to join us. All right, so please, the question.
Yes, thank you very much for representation. Professor Dele Tulegbonshe from NIFAS, Nigeria. I will start from I looked at your presentation, you were talking also about fertilizer. And since you are trying to grow for export, do you think the issue of this inorganic fertilizer will be helpful to the farmer in the long run? I was thinking that maybe you are going to go organic rather than what go. If it's organic, we are sure that yes, the end product will be more acceptable to the world generally. And again, I look at your last statement it said that to commission a study to assess the capacity of agricultural extension workers to support the agro-industrialization program. That seems to be the end of it now. I was thinking you have also done that even at the beginning, so that you are going along. It's also trying to have that trend and that study at the now for the future. Why not from the beginning? That's going to be incorporated into that particular program.
Okay, thank you so much. Your point is well received. A baseline is recommended, but we can still do a midline. And I think his appeal is also for capacity assessment on how extensions workers can contribute. And but the advice is also received. Now I understand Dr. Roy McCullough is already online and ready to present. Let's connect him, and we welcome you, sir. Since you're going to present yourself, I'll ask you to work within 10 minutes. Apologies for cutting you short. 10 maybe to 12 minutes. You're welcome, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Good, thanks very much. I would like to thank AFAS for inviting one CGIAR to make this presentation. As you have said, Chairman, this message is to announce the reforms that are ongoing. As most of us are partners of one CGIAR, it's just to announce the reforms that are ongoing at the CGIAR, and just to emphasize the fact that this is a great opportunity for us to work with AFAS and its partners in scaling out and creating impact in East and Southern Africa. So I am the Director General of Africa Rice, and at the same time, the Regional Director of East and Southern Africa, one CGIAR. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Right, so obviously it's quite interesting to note that we now have a global recognition for the role of CGIAR in transforming food systems. So everybody knows that the food systems are broken. And obviously when we talk about food systems, we also couple it up with the land and water systems, because we're getting our food from the land and water. So we have a few important actors in the agricultural scene that have been actually making reference to the role of CGIAR, like Bill and Melinda Gates and the president of AGRA, Ban Ki-moon, in several fora. These great people who are interested in agriculture have been making reference to the CGIAR, and they show support for one CGIAR. This is, if we listen to COP26, there were pledges that were made dedicated to helping smallholder farmers and to adapt to climate change, induced loss and damage. So we are right in the business of it and want to take our partners with it. The next slide. Next slide, please. How do we do this? We're changing ourselves. So I'm sure you, like I said, you all partnered with the CGIAR. So we're now talking about a more unified and integrated CGIAR. And what we intend to do is to bring together the capacities of 15 different centers. You are all working, I'm sure you've had experience working with these centers before. There are 15. We want to bring these centers together, its capabilities, knowledge, assets, and the global presence, and we're aiming for greater integration, obviously in the face of the interdependent challenges facing today's world. So many things happening, challenges are out there. Every day we hear about this, and we need to be prepared to do this. How are we going to do this? We have, we've looked at it. We need to have a compelling mission for one CGIAR. We've looked at it through unifying our governance. There are 15 centers and we need to bring them together. So we have a very much more unified governance system. a more integrated operational structure. So the 15 centers will be working together more than ever before. One CGI policies and services to actually create that enabling environment for us to work with our partners. And a very important thing that we have done is to go to the regions and countries. And that's why we have divided the space, the global space, into 6 regions, and East and Southern Africa is one of these regions. And obviously, we're working with a new research modality, and we're expecting that from what we're hearing from our donors and those who are interested in agriculture will have more funding, pooled funding to actually work in partnership with all the other institutions all over the world that are interested in actually mending the food system. Next slide, please. So our mission is new, and we've changed our mission. And what we're trying to do is we know that we've been doing science, but we want to deliver science, and we're stressing on innovation. And not any kind of science or innovation, but that advanced food transformation of food, land and water systems. And obviously within the context of climate crisis, we can't ignore that, and we're taking that into consideration. We're stressing on impact. We're targeting multiple benefits, SDG benefits, and we're doing this across 5 impact areas with collective global targets for transformation of food, land and water systems. And we want to do this across local, regional, global levels. So we're actually still going throughout the several boundaries that we have, and we're looking at those 5 impact areas. We'll come to that later. Can we have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Now, so this new research that we're doing, and how are we going to do this? We've divided it into 3 areas. We have systems transformation, because transforming the system is very important. And like I said, we have these systems that are broken, and we need to transform them. We're looking at resilient agri-food systems as well. And we need to have, in the face of climate change and all what's happening, we need to make our systems, food system, very resilient. And we've also looking at genetic innovation and genetic gains. We need to step this up. Genetic innovations that will be delivered from genetic gains and taking it to the farmer's field. It's very important. So we're looking at these 3 action areas. And in terms of impact, we're looking at nutrition, health, and food. I noticed that a lot of comments have been made around nutrition and health. And I'm happy to note that. And we're taking this on board and looking at how we can impact these areas. Poverty reduction is still there, livelihoods and jobs for the youths. A lot has been said about the youths, and we need, especially the youths and women, and job opportunities. We need to get our youths occupied. Gender equality, youth and inclusion is another impact area that we're looking at. Climate adaptation and mitigation, environmental health and biodiversity. And the pathways we're looking, since it's a research institution, we're looking at science-based innovation. Innovation is still up there because that's the building block. That's what we're going to take to create impact. Targeted capacity development is very important. A lot has been said about developing the capacity of our youths. And if we don't have a good and enabling environment, it will be very difficult for us to actually deliver. So we're looking at advice on policies that would really create an enabling environment for us to work. And another important thing about a new strategy, research and innovation strategy, is that we want to deploy this in 6 regions, like I said, and in East and Southern Africa is one of these regions, and I'm heading that region. And now we'll just go on to what we want actually to do in the region. It's not new, we have been having strong partnerships with a lot of institutions in East and Southern Africa. I can name some of them, as Azareka, which is, and CADESA. These are institutions that are coordinating agricultural research and innovation at the regional level. We also have strong connections with National Agricultural Research and Extension Systems. And this has been long since 1970s, over 50 years. But we need collaborative efforts to contribute immensely to enhancing food and nutrition security in this region. And we need to consolidate these 2 new engagement modes, and I'll talk about this later. Next slide, please. So we want to do this in a more systematic way, more systematic engagement with partners in East and Southern Africa. And we're putting in systems that will allow us to be better engaged and aligned with our partners. It's very important. We're not going to do things by ourselves. We need, if we want to go into the regions and countries, we need to align with our partners in all ways to identify joint priorities and activities. A new dedicated capacity has been put in place to improve our engagement with partners. So we'll be having in the countries, we'll have a team that will be working hand in hand with all our partners. These would consist of focal points, and they will be engaging with partners around all CGI activity, and they will be also responsible to monitor strategic partnership issues. They would also ensure co-development of country strategic frameworks based on alignment of our respective capacities, resources, and funders' interest. So we're taking all our partners along with us in that region. We're expecting multiple benefits at the country level, greater utility and impacts to countries and regions. That's the key word. We need bigger impacts through transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach. And we're looking forward to obviously having lower transaction costs. If we're moving on with our partners, lower transaction costs on partners and strengthening in-country research collaboration. Next slide, please. We're not going to do things, like I said, on our own. We're going to look at what's happening in the region. That's why we're there, looking at the priorities. And we know that these priorities, from the discussions we've had, and I'm really heartened to hear that we're talking about investments that are worthy, climate smart, sustainable intensification solutions. This has come up in the discussions. Integrated economic production, food safety, nutrition, enhancing interventions. These are things that we look at. It has come up in your discussions. Intersectoral capacity strengthening coordination, policy coherence. This also has been one of an area where a lot of participants have commented on. And we shouldn't forget multi-stakeholder coordination. Blended finance, empowerment of women and youth. Big and great discussions going on this in the forum. And it's important to know that we're really on target with the regional priorities in the region. Next slide, please. Next slide. After having said all this, I think it's important to note that the reason why we're bringing this message is two things: scaling up and creating impact. And obviously, to do that, we need to deliver innovations. And we have innovations for East and Southern Africa already on the ground, and this would actually bridge the partnership between one CGR and the agricultural extension and agricultural services. So we have these different approaches, and there's an opportunity here for us to strengthen our partnership with AFARS and its partners all over the East and Southern African region. There are a lot of innovations. I'm sure these were showcased in our side event, and because of time, I don't want to go into it, but when we look at it, we're cutting across all the areas in terms of agronomy, in terms of methodologies, in terms of to improve agricultural production and yield. We're looking at genetic innovations, resources, genetic resources that we'll put on the table. We're looking at how we would move forward with commodities that you have said. I remember the presenter, the former presenter, talking about commodities that are of importance in Uganda, and I'm sure we all know these commodities that are important in Eastern and Southern Africa, and we're going to be looking at all of this. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. We also have innovations towards not only towards professionalization, which is very important. We've been talking about this, a lot of discussions on this. We have technical guidelines. We have quality declared planting material that we bring into to you. We have technical and facilitators manual. So all of this will use to engage in the partnership with AFAS and its partners in terms of, and strengthening agricultural extension that will help us to scale out and also to create impact. We've been talking about agro-industrialization. We shouldn't forget about that. It's key, and we also have innovations that the one CGI is going to put on the table that will help us strengthen our partnership with AFAS and its partners so that we can contribute to the role of extension in scaling out and creating impact. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? We talked about agripreneurship. It's also important. Most of the discussions were about, creating this around youth, with the youth and women. We also have done quite a lot of work, and we have innovations that we want to bring on the table: youth engagement in agribusiness through mechanized technologies, community seed banks, promotion of orange flesh potato for seed security, business opportunities. Lots of these innovations that we have on the table, and we want to work with AFAS and its partners to actually scale out these technologies so that we can actually create the impact that we're looking for. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, if we look at this, we're looking at in East and Southern Africa, a research for development agenda that is completely aligned with stakeholder needs and priorities. And I can comfortably say this because I've been listening to the discussions, and most of what has been said, we have, and we want to share this, put it on the table with our partners so that we can move. The issue of climate change, and we're looking at climate information services and climate smart sustainable intensification technologies to help the region to address future uncertainties. We're looking at scaling, regional scaling hub on climate smart technologies and practices, capacity strengthening, policy implementation. All of these are issues that have come up in your discussions. Agribusiness, small and medium enterprise incubators and accelerators, providing business support and technical assistance. And also technical options for diversification of agricultural production systems, and nutrition-sensitive policy orientation and institutional innovations. So we're putting all of this on the table. We have actually, to deliver this, to be quick, we have what we call the strategy, and to deliver this strategy, we have a portfolio of CGI initiatives, and these initiatives are demand-driven, rigorous, and coherent, systems-oriented, like I mentioned, accountable, and especially focused on innovation and at scaling. And we want to do this at the various levels, including, systems transformative initiatives, regional connections initiatives, farming systems initiatives, and thematic initiatives. Next step, next slide, please. Yes, this is a quick message. I know that we're planning to engage further with our partners, but this is just to let you know that we're committed to working with AFAS, and we want to thank AFAS for giving us this opportunity. We know we have a lot of things to discuss, but we're happy we're thanking AFAS for giving us this opportunity during this Africa-wide agricultural extension to pass on this message, that this is an opportunity for consolidating our partnership. And as we move into the new One CGI research and innovation strategy and plans that we're working on, we know that AFAS is a key partner in research for development work and want to strongly recognize this across One CGI. A lot of this has been, has been said. AFAS has been recognized throughout the various debates, and we're joining the voices of all those who are saying that we need to strengthen our partnership. Extension is very important if we want to really create impact. We want to thank our funders, Asareka, CADESA, all the national agricultural research institutions, universities, development partners, and all the partners that we've been working with for the past 50 years. And want to say that we're coming in with a new agenda, and we want to strengthen our partnership and our relationships in the future under an integrated approach that can, especially because we want to, it's not just about science, but it's about what science can do to creating, improving livelihoods. And to do this, we need to scale up. If we need to scale up impact, we need to actually talk about extension and enabling the region to emerge strongly from all the other challenges, including the COVID challenge that we've been seeing, the COVID pandemic that is really creating a problem for us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's really give a hand clap to Dr. McCloy. Thank you so much, sir, for really bringing us up to speed about what the CG is planning to do and the open space for other actors to join you. What's clear today is, I believe across Africa, multiple efforts going out there in different directions, but all of them seeking to transform the farmer. So our prayer, therefore, is if each effort should succeed and we come back here with great impact results. Thank you again. Right now, then, we want to receive a message from the African Union, and I want to welcome our tech team to play that message. And again, to warmly welcome all of you who are online. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate. If you have a comment, go ahead, put it in the chat, and we'll express it. And again, before the video starts, our colleague from the Bank of Uganda, excuse me, are you here now? You are very welcome. And I will ask Torito or Olive to Olive Torito. Okay, get to and receive the presentation if it needs to be loaded. Thank you again. Over to you, Tech, to give us the African Union message. Thank you, everyone, for your engagement.
Of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Frank, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Frank Tumebeze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fishery of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Akiyomi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Patrice Njemin, the Africa Forum for Agriculture Advisory Board's Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly observed. On behalf of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mohamed, I wish to thank the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory to convene this important event, the 5th African-wide Agriculture Extension Week 2021, in this beautiful resort in Kampala, Uganda, and inviting me to give a goodwill message. Let me use this opportunity to thank His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, and the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fishery of the Republic of Uganda for hosting this event. Agriculture continues to be the mainstay of African population, despite now accounting for only 70% of the African GDP. Ranging from 1.3% in Burundi, 24% in Uganda, to 61% in Sierra Leone, signs obviously of ongoing structural transformation. Agriculture extension, also known as Agricultural Advisory Service, plays a critical role in Africa by bringing the farming community information on new technology, which they can adopt to increase productivity, income, and standards of living. As part of their much bigger role, brokering and facilitating links and relationship within the agriculture innovation system, they provide a critical support service for rural producers while meeting the new challenges confronting agriculture as a result of the transformation of the global food and agriculture system through the rise of supermarket and growing importance of standard labels and food safety, growth in non-farm rural employment and agribusiness, constraints imposed by COVID-19, HIV/AIDS, and other health challenges that affect rural livelihoods, and the deterioration of the natural resources base, climate change, and land degradation. Therefore, extension staff are key player in the development process of the and they are key to achieving the Malabo goals by 2025. However, extension system in Africa face numerous systemic challenges, including dwindling numbers and inadequate funding, which in turn limit their effectiveness in promoting smallholders farmers' productivity. In the face of these challenges, the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory has risen up to the challenge, waxing strong and ensure that CAADP Pillar Number 4, Agricultural Research, Technology, Dissemination, and Adoption, directly addresses the needs of African farmers as regards advisory services, contributing to making these services more effective and relevant. It is for this reason that the African Union Commission signed an MOU with the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory in April 2015 for a period of 4 years, designating the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory as an African Union Commission institution spearheading agricultural extension and advisory services with a focus on knowledge support of the science agenda for agriculture in Africa under the framework for sustaining CAADP momentum. Excellence in 41 African countries, a total
That's a very, very, very high level presentation. We apologize on behalf of tech, or maybe the way the recording was made, for cutting it short. But what is clear is the fact that AFAS is now an institution within the African Union looked at, and it has been looked at raising the profile and role of agriculture extension, being able also to make sure technology dissemination and uptake happens. And I must say that we are happy to be a part of all of this, all of us that are here from across Africa and all of you that are online. So we will find a way of bringing back that message. But in the meantime, we'd like to welcome very warmly someone from the Bank of Uganda. I apologize for not picking your name yet, but we'll give you a chance here to
knowledge supports.
Okay, wait. Are you? Okay. I think, can we continue, Tech? Adrian, can we? Okay.
For Agriculture Advisory in April 2015 for a period of 4 years, designating the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory as an African Union Commission institution spearheading agricultural extension and advisory services with a focus on knowledge support of the science agenda for agriculture in Africa under the framework for sustaining CAADP momentum. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to inform this esteemed gathering that the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory has recorded some concrete achievement since the signing of this MOU. The African Forum for Agriculture Advisory now has footprints in 41 African countries, a total of 22 country fora, with individual membership of 3,957, representing 24% females, have been established and are fully operational. 2 regional fora, the West and the Central Africa Network Agriculture and Rural Advisory Service, and Southern Africa Region Forum for Agricultural Advisory Service have also been established, among others. That is why talks are currently going on with the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory for us to renew the MOU that expired in 2019, so that the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory can continue to be a critical voice for extension and advisory service on the continent, mobilizing effective partnership for advancing agriculture extension and advisory service in Africa. Excellencies, to conclude, I wish the organization well as we commemorate the 5th African-wide Agricultural Extension Week 2021. I can only hope that the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory will continue to take agriculture advisory service to new frontiers in Africa. I wish you successful deliberation and I thank you for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana, shukran.
Can we give a hand clap to Her Excellency? That was Her Excellency Josepha Leono Correa Sacco. It was a very, very encouraging message. I'd like now to welcome our next presenter from the Bank of Uganda to come and share with us about opportunities available for farmers under the Agricultural Credit Facility. And as you come, this is the 5th Africa-wide Agriculture Extension Week. We have guests from all over Africa and other international guests. And I believe that what you're going to share will also have lessons to other countries in Africa. You're welcome, madam. Good to meet you.
Thank you very much. All protocol observed. And I request, since I'm a bit far, that I remove my mask. Thank you. My name's Rosette Bamwine, Mrs. I'm representing Bank of Uganda Agricultural Credit Facility, and I'm happy to be with you, and I welcome all of you to Uganda. Thank you. My presentation is about the opportunities that are available for our farmers, agro-processors, and the whole agricultural value chain in Uganda. The agenda is as follows. Next. In the interest of time, let's go ahead. You have seen the agenda. The ACF mostly is for promoting smart farming. Next. So what is this agricultural credit facility all about? Agriculture is a key pillar of the Ugandan economy, as it accounts for approximately 23% of GDP and 87% of the working population in rural areas are engaged in agriculture activities. Agricultural products account for the largest portion of the Ugandan exports, constituting 80% of the total exports. One of the key development strategies under the National Development Plan is agro-industrialization, which aims at increasing commercialization and competitiveness of agricultural production and agro-processing in Uganda. The farmers' participation along the agricultural value chain is imminent to the growth of the agriculture sector, from the agricultural research and development to food production, storage and handling, to agro-processing through a marketing and distribution in local, regional, and international food markets. In spite of the above factors, however, most of the financial institutions in Uganda were initially unwilling to advance credit to the agricultural value chain actors due to the high risks involved in agriculture lending, resulting in too high cost of lending. It is against this background that the government of Uganda decided to establish this scheme known as the Agricultural Credit Facility in the year 2009. So the scheme was established in the year 2009 by the government of Uganda in partnership with the regulated financial institutions operating in Uganda, as well as the Uganda Development Bank. The regulated financial institutions include the commercial banks, the micro deposit taking institutions, the MDIs, and the credit institutions. And Bank of Uganda, being a central bank, is just a regulator and manages the fund as an administrator on behalf of the government of Uganda. The operations of the Agricultural Credit Facility are governed by the Memorandum of Agreement signed between all the parties concerned. Next. So what is this facility all about? How does it benefit our farmers, our agro processors, and how does it contribute to the agriculture sector? The ACF, I'll call it in short, the ACF, the Agricultural Credit Facility, is a risk-sharing public-private partnership between the government of Uganda and the participating financial institutions that you've heard about. It provides medium and long-term financing to projects engaged in agriculture, agro-processing, and the grain trade at more concessionary terms than what is offered in the financial sector. The ACF finances all projects along the agricultural value chains, and it includes the SMEs, the large-scale aggregators, the youth, the women, as well as the exporters, the importers, name it, along the agricultural value chain, that we support them. Our structure is as follows. Indeed, the commercial banks, that is the tier 1 financial institutions and the tier 2 financial institutions, as well as the Uganda Development Bank. And the aim is to bridge this financing gap, as mentioned in my preliminary remarks. The financing gap that has existed right from the beginning due to the inherent risks associated with agricultural lending. And that's why this structure was put up to fill this gap, to lend to this very risk sector through the risk sharing with the government of Uganda. Next. So what is the key objective of establishing this facility to support the farmers? The main objective of the SCF is to deliver medium and long-term loans to agriculture sector, focusing on agro-processing projects on more favorable terms than are usually available in the financial institutions. The main emphasis is on commercializing agriculture, modernizing agriculture, and that is encouraging mechanization of agriculture and hence value addition in the sector, especially to move away from the rudimentary methods of farming, from subsistence farming to commercial farming for each and every farmer or other actors along the agricultural value chain. So who is eligible to participate? All Ugandans, all business people in Uganda that are engaged in agriculture, that are engaged in agro-processing, right from primary production along the way up to exports. Post-harvest handling is included, the grain trade is included, and almost all activity along the agricultural value chain. We welcome individuals as sole proprietors, partnerships, registered or unregistered companies, among others. Next. The eligible, ahead. Okay, the next is the eligible projects. What projects, what activities can be supported? And that will be slide 10. This includes acquisition of agricultural machinery and equipment, post-harvest handling, equipment, packaging materials for produce and cold storage, land opening, paddocking, water excavation for livestock, improved pasture, purchase of agricultural inputs that include pesticides and fertilizers, acquisition of biological assets such as banana suckers, fruit seedlings, working capital for the grain trade, acquisition of agro-processing facilities, irrigation facilities, and any other agricultural or agro-processing related activities. So it is right from the primary production and also right from the opening land, acquisition of the seedlings or seeds, fertilizers, irrigation system, post-harvest handling, processing until we reach the export bit of it. We also have a part of the grain trade that was introduced due to bumper harvest, whereby our farmers were being exploited. There was bumper harvest and yet there was not enough market. Hence the introduction of the grain facility, whereby we introduced the grain trade to traders that are interested in the purchase of any grain, as you see that photograph, depending on which district, which part of the region, which region of the country, any grain that they have, these traders can get the funds for purchase of this grain so that they keep it, they store it well and sell when the prices are better. A few things, however, are not eligible for financing under the agricultural credit facility. And this includes the following: one, purchase of land, planting of trees, as well as refinancing an existing facility that has gone bad and trading apart from the grain trade. These are the only items that are not financed under the scheme. However, the rest of the items are all financed. And biological assets, we limit them to 80 million. And also, one can borrow with or without collateral, as you'll see ahead. So what are the loan terms? Next slide. How favorable is this scheme from the other schemes, from the other lending activities by the other financial institutions? It is favorable in terms of one, the loan period. It can go up to 8 years, though the grain facility goes for 2 years, as we assume it is harvest and 2 years are adequate. The maximum grace period is up to 3 years. The grain trade, there is no grace period. The minimum is 6 months. The interest rate is up to a maximum of 12% per annum, and the grain trade is 15% per annum. And also the fees. Some of the financial institutions, when you go out there to borrow, the fees charged are sometimes high. And under the SCF, the maximum is 0.5% of the total loan amount. Then the government of Uganda contribution. How is this risk sharing? If the client application goes through a credit institution, that is tier 2, or my MDIs, tier 3 institutions, the government of Uganda contributes 70% of any loan given to the client. In that, these institutions will contribute only 30%. This is a way of motivating them and also sharing the cost of capital. Then if the application goes through tier 1 institutions, and these are the commercial banks, then the government contributes 50%, and these institutions will also contribute 50% of any loan given out. The reason is, when the scheme was established in the year 2009, in the year 2010, along the way, we realized that most of the financial institutions were actually not participating, yet they were catering for our SMEs. They were catering for our micro borrowers. And that's why the government of Uganda decided to say this. Why are these institutions not participating? It was realized that they lacked liquidity as a top-up. Since it's a risk sharing, the government puts an amount and the financial institutions an amount. Therefore, these MDIs and credit institutions did not have the liquidity for cost sharing. And that's why the government gives 70% to any client who applies through the MDIs or the credit institutions. Then, when it comes to risk sharing in case of default, the contribution is 50%. That is, we can write off 50%, or the government showed us the 50% of any loan given, and that's how we are sharing the risks. Next. So what are the application requirements? They're also fair, bankable proposal. The client must be bankable with an account in any bank. We require CLB report, security for the amounts above 20 million Uganda shillings, valuation report, spousal consent, among other items. Then we have what we call block allocation. Next. For the block allocation, one, when after some years of most of the farmers participating under the agricultural credit facility, we realized that almost the big shots, the big aggregators, the big off-takers were the ones benefiting. And that's why we said, when we carried out a survey, we realized that most of the SMEs, who are the majority in Uganda, most of the farmers lacked collateral. You find one has land, but without collateral. Some of them have communal land. Some places like in the northern Uganda, you find you have communal land, but then enough for practicing your agriculture, but no collateral to borrow or get a facility from any bank. And that's why we established what we call block allocation. Block allocation, we give a block amount of up to maximum of 1.5 billion Uganda shillings to the financial institutions to lend to any micro borrower up to 20 million without collateral or with alternative collateral that can include chattel mortgage, that can include your cash flows, that can include your character and relationship with that bank. Anyone credible and a farmer, well-known farmer, can access this loan and it can be repeated in that they can keep getting more and more once they repay back. So the performance as at 30th June, indeed we have disbursed so much, 620 billion. We have disbursed to 1,194 eligible projects, and the government of Uganda contribution is 314.79 billion. PFIs, they have contributed, or participating institution, 305.25 billion. The repayment is so far good. Next. The cumulative performance, this one we can go ahead. Next. What are our success stories? How has the agricultural credit facility contributed to the development of the country and to the agricultural sector as a whole? We have extended credit worth so much, 620.04 billion to 1,194 beneficiaries across the country. Enhancing financial inclusion through the block allocation that I have mentioned, promoting mechanization of the agriculture sector through advancing credit to various farmers and other beneficiaries, increasing value to agricultural projects, resulting into import substitution of produce that attract better prices in line with the Build Uganda, Buy Uganda policy. Since inception, the ACF has financed over 158.20 billion to about 103 agro-processors engaged in value addition. Boosting export promotion of agro-processed Ugandan-made products, especially in the dairy, tea, and the grain milling sectors. Enhancing financial inclusion through block allocation once again, enabling farmers to borrow without collateral, and above all, increased level of confidence in agricultural financing, especially amongst the financial institutions operating in Uganda. Having lent out under the guarantee, under the risk-sharing mechanism, most of our financial institutions have also put in place measures to lend on their own without even the support of the government of Uganda, because they have ventured in it and they know it is possible. And the risk, most of them have realized that much of the risk is also perceived risk. What are the challenges? Along the way, we have encountered a number of challenges in administering the agricultural facility. And one of them is high systematic risks from the environment, drought, flood, and disease, from the markets, price volatility, trade policy, and trade practices affecting exports and market access. Inadequate rural infrastructure, lack of access to good quality inputs, lack of collateral by some farmers, lack of farm records required by PFIs, especially amongst the SMEs, lack of suitable financing products to meet the needs of most of the SMEs, especially the women and youth, lack of reliable and adequate information on good agricultural practices, and also there is also lack of agricultural finance policy, though the good news is that this one is underway, it's in the making. Next. The policies we have mentioned, limited knowledge of the scheme, inadequate information from the PFIs, and so on. So let's go to the solutions. What solutions have we put in place? Different products for different farmer categories, increase in financial literacy, which the Bank of Uganda is doing right now, encouraging partnerships, public-private partnerships, advocating for enabling policies for agriculture finance, establishing and strengthening financial infrastructure such as credit information bureaus, payment systems, collateral registries, and commodity exchange, among others, and also strengthening cooperatives and other institutions to support SMEs from the household level. Next. We also have another solution to establishing a flexible legal framework for the credit guarantees to enable speedy processing of the loan write-offs. 1 minute, okay. Okay, next, let's go to the conclusion because of the time. Effects of COVID, it affected most of the projects, but most of them are recovering. In conclusion, therefore, it is worth noting that the government of Uganda cannot manage to solve the challenges of agricultural financing in isolation. In order to achieve the export agenda, while creating jobs at different stages along the agricultural value chain, there is a need to develop detailed value chains that integrate job creation analysis at different stages with clear workforce and development plans. It requires a combined effort of the farmers, the private sector, the development partners, and agribusiness advocates, as well as the people of Uganda, to promote agriculture through agriculture financing. Thank you very much. Go to the next for the contact. The next slide for the contacts. Next. Okay. Thank you for listening.
And Madam Tumine, before you leave,
Bamwine.
Bamwine, I'm sorry.
And we have these brochures that you can get outside in the stores.
Is that an invitation to partner with Bank of Uganda?
We invite to partner not with Bank of Uganda, but with Agricultural Credit Facility, which is a partnership between the government of Uganda and the financial institutions in Uganda that are regulated by Bank of Uganda, and Bank of Uganda as the fund administrator.
So we can recommend our clients to the STF project.
Please, all clients are welcome. We finance the whole value chain. Thank you very much.
Let's once again thank Madam Mrs. Bamwine for a very good presentation with a hand clap, please. This marks the end of this first session. I want to thank so much our presenters for today. Thank you again. We truly appreciate your commitment to this. And again, to thank all of you for your patience, but also I believe there's a lot of learning. You've heard that we are welcome to partner with these very important institutions and projects that are going on, and we really truly appreciate it. There are brochures, for example, for the ACF project. How can we access you, sir? Any partners here may need to access you, I believe, through the ministry. Okay, thank you again. Okay, with this, I just want to give very few announcements for the next session. Then we go for coffee, which should take at least 20 minutes once I release you. And at that time, after that time, please go to the following rooms for your parallel sessions. For parallel sessions 1A, which is on innovative AES approaches for resilient and practical actions. The chairperson is Dr. Louis Marie Kakudu. Could you please stand up? And all of those who are interested in that session, you will stay here. Thank you, sir. And then for the parallel session 2, towards professionalization of AES systems in Africa, where the chairperson is Dr. Jeff Mutimba. Kindly stand up for people who are interested in that. Please, you're going to go to Sheena room. It is downstairs. and you will join that team. Then the third parallel session for this mid-morning is going to be about agro-industrialization in the context of trade regimes, implications for AES. The chairperson is Dr. Kanagire Kanasias. Could you please stand up so that we, okay, I think he is missing. We are going to get an alternative to that. But the people interested in agro-industrialization, please, you're going to go to Mera room. And thank you. And I think that is it. It's now 5 minutes to 11. Please, you're free to go for your coffee for 20 minutes. Please take time to interact with others. And again, so honored to have all of you with us today. We'll have a chance again to acknowledge more. Maybe I should continue to acknowledge the presence of the permanent secretary from Minister of Agriculture from Nigeria. We are so pleased to have you, sir. Really, truly appreciated. And so please go for your break, interact with others as much as you can. And then at 1:15, please go to your rooms, and chairpersons do the needful up to lunch. Lunch will take place at also 1:15, so that we have only 45 minutes for lunch, or rather about 1 hour for lunch, and then we'll be welcoming the next parallel sessions. Because I realize we will not be here again. There will be a second innovative AES approaches session after lunch. The chair is here, Dr. Podisi. So those of you who are interested in that after lunch, you join him. And then for youth and women, agripreneurship for youth, the chair is Elizabeth Nsimadala. Are you here, Elizabeth? Oh yeah, very welcome. So that will be the chairperson for the harnessing agripreneurship among the youth. And then the last one in the afternoon, again, is AES resilience to pandemics. The chairperson is already here, Mrs. Mary Kamau. Those of you interested, you go to that. Again, apologies for bringing that in late, because I know we may not have time after lunch. Have a good break.